I know. 5 after the camera. Okay, let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it doesn't matter if I hold it this way. This is the nice thing about this method. I can do this sideways. I can read the music upside down. The other system is a little harder to do that. But here I've got my 5 lines and my 6 spaces, okay? 4. So what's the space above? 6. And the space above that? 1. And what about below? 2. 7. Exactly. And below that, there's a line there. 5. Right? So now this time I gave you the number. I gave you the number 4. I know. Trust me. It seems simple now. But and it almost seems obvious when I'm doing this. But it took me a long time to discover these simple things. Now, let's say that I had the number 7, and I put the number 7 up here on this top line. Now, can I label all the lines going down? So this would be what? 5. Oops. 5. And then this? 3. Oh, I did that backwards. 3. 1. What? 6. Below that? 4. If this is 7, the one above that? 2. 2 lines above that? Yeah, no problem, right? And again, we did that with the number 7. Okay, I'm going to give you the number 4 down there. So what would that be? 6. Then 1, 3, 5. Yeah. Okay. Now here's the big punchline. Is the camera rolling?
Yeah.
With a big punchline? Here's the big punchline. All music written in major scales, they have these things called sharps and flats in a thing called the key signature. And the key signature is always something that they put over here in the corner. And in the key signature they put 2 things. They put one thing called a clef. And what the clef does is the clef gives a name of the alphabet to one of the lines or one of the spaces to do this exact same thing with ABCs.
It assigns.
Yeah. The other thing it does is for that particular key that it's trying to tell you that the piece is in, it's going to have a number of sharps or flats up here called the key signature. And in that key signature, the sharps or flats will tell you what key it's in.
Meta specific.
Yeah, and this is, again, something that you have to memorize. For instance, in the key of C, there are no sharps or flats. In the key of G, there's 1 sharp. In the key of F, there's 1 flat. And these things are usually memorized. In the key of A, there are 3 sharps. In the key of E, there are 4 sharps. And usually you have to memorize those things. And what they do is if you look at something and it's got 4 sharps, for instance, if I have a key signature here in which there's a sharp here, there's a sharp here, there's a sharp here, and there's a sharp there, and you see 4 sharps, that automatically is supposed to tell you it's in the key of E if I have the treble clef here. So the 2 things, I got the treble clef and these 4 sharps that tell me it's in the key of E. Okay? Now, I memorized all 17 of those spellings, and it took me, let's see, it took me 2 years in high school to memorize the 12 times tables. It took me almost 3.5 years as an adult to memorize the 17 spellings for the scale. So before I could recognize all 17 key signatures, it was 3 years of training to memorize that stuff. You're memorizing 17.
Because you're learning and encoding, decoding.
Yeah, you're learning, yeah, and you're learning it by rote. There's no, they're not giving you a formula or some kind of mathematical function or rule that you can use to figure it out with. So it's purely memorization. There's no trick to figuring it out. It's purely memorization. Now, there's some people who have tricks. As I've told you, usually there's a lot of snake oil salesmen that have one good trick out there that helps you get all the sharps or all the flats, but that's not enough to know everything about music. That just gets started. But I'm going to show you a trick that's kind of interesting here. Now, this is only applicable to what we're doing here, and this is only for the major scale, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5, 1. Okay. In for the big time. Now you people are going to start to recognize something. Here's the rule. You see in my little thing here, I've got a sharp. See where the sharp is? What number is the sharp near? Yeah, and what number is the flat near?
4.
Well, it turns out that whenever they put sharps into a piece of music in the key signature, they always start out with one sharp. And the first sharp is always the number 7. Always the number 7. Then when they put 2 sharps in, what they do is they take the number 7 and they move it to the number 3. And they add a new sharp on the very rightmost of the key signature, and that sharp happens to be the number 7. Then when they add a third sharp, they take the first sharp and move it from the position 3 over to the position 6, move the 7 to the new position 3, add a new sharp, and the new sharp happens to be the number 7. So every time they put in a sharp, whether it's 5 sharps, 7 sharps, 10 sharps, 14 sharps, if there are 29 sharps, which you won't see in anyone's music but mine, I do that to make the people who do ABC go crazy, because I love to just drive them out of their mind. It's just for fun. Okay? The last sharp, the one furthest to the right, is always the number 7. Now, if you know where the number 7's at, can you use the number code to figure out where everything else is at?
Yes, sir.
Guess what? That's all you need to know, folks. I'm sorry to make it so difficult, but let's try this. Okay, the first time they put in a sharp, they put it up here on this little line right there. So what are they telling us? That line is what number?
7.
Okay, if that line is 7, then what's this line?
5.
And that one is?
3.
And this one is?
1.
Look at there. There's where 1 is. And we go down, 6. Now I've got enough there to read music. And by the way, if the key signature I put up here was what we call a treble clef, then this would be the key of G. If, however, I put up there a F clef, then it would be a different key. And if I put a C clef up there, it would be named a different key. But guess what? Numerically, it would be the same. Numerically, it won't change, because the sharp is the number 7. So the sharp might move to a different position depending on what clef I put up there, but all things being equal, the rightmost sharp is still going to be the number 7. Now let's try this. They put in this sharp for the first sharp, then the next sharp they put it in here on this line over here. This is on the line, and then they put it here on this space right there. So if that space is the number 7, okay, then what's the line below? 5. And the one below that? And the one below that? So we can see that right here, that's where 1 is at. Starts on that bottom space. And just like over here, this is where 1 started, was on the second line. So, by the way, if I have, again, if I put a G clef here and say this line here is G, the letter G, then that's the letter D, and this would be called the key of D. But we don't need to know the names. Honest swear God, hope to God, we don't need to know the name, because the last sharp is always going to be the number 7. Now, the space above the 7 is 2. The space above that is 4. Now, do I have enough there to read music?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's try this. Put down this sharp. The next sharp they put in is still down there on that space, but then they put the next sharp on the space above. So if this is the number 7, then this is
5.
3, 1, and that down there? 6. So guess what? This line here, if I had, again, the G clef here, this line would be called A. I'm sorry, F, not F. Yeah, A.
Key of A.
It would be A, and this would be the key of A. Because, see, there's a line here.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There's a space down there.
Okay.
But the point is, this is the number 7, right? Just like that by itself was a 7, the rightmost sharp is the number 7.